It's a huge development in the United States of America. Syed Salahuddin of the Hizbul Mujahideen has been designated a terrorist by the United States of America. The man you see on your television screen, the terror mastermind of the Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist organization sitting in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the mastermind of terrorist attacks of the Hizbul Mujahideen in the Kashmir Valley, the man who was dealing with terrorists like Sabzar, Butt, Burhan Wani and a series of other terrorists in the valley has now been designated a terrorist by the United States. Hours before Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with the US President Donald Trump, Pakistan has been given a massive blow on the chin. The US State Department has designated Syed Salahuddin, the chief of Pakistan-based Hizbul Mujahideen, a global terrorist. Burhan Wani, the Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist who was killed in an encounter on the 8th of July last year, was hailed by a martyr by none other than Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, belonged to this terrorist organization. How huge a blow is this for Pakistan? We will discuss on the broadcast. But one thing is clear, American citizens and American companies will not be able to conduct any business with Syed Salahuddin. This, in effect, will choke global funds for this terrorist and his terrorist organization. Let's listen in to the spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs, Gopal Bagle.
It does vindicate India's longest-standing position that cross-border terrorism has been behind the disturbances created in Kashmir, and since last year, as you know. And in fact, the outfits that Syed Salahuddin leads, they have perpetuated from the territory of Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir cross-border terrorism against India, including in the state of Jammu and Kashmir for a number of years. So in that sense, I think we would welcome this notification, and it underlines also quite strongly the fact that both India and United States face threat of terrorism.
I quickly want to cut across to Raj Chingappa, the Group Editorial Director of the India Today Group. Raj, what do you make of this development? What does this mean?
I think it is one of the most significant statements that have come out. And earlier, India Today TV, Geeta Mohan broke the fact that this could figure in the joint statement that is to be released later when the two leaders meet, President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. What it does is, so far President Trump had talked of dealing with international terror of the ISIS kind. And then, of course, on the Middle East, he talked of Iran and Qatar and these other places that were supporting it. This is the first clear indication that he recognizes that there is an issue of cross-border and state-sponsored terrorism in the subcontinent. There had been ambiguous statements coming out from the US. This is a clear statement that they back India on this. They put Pakistan on the mat. Pakistan now has to act, because even though in some senses it could be symbolic, the fact that one of the key terrorist groups that India has been concerned about has now got put under US sanctions is a very, very important signal, not just for Pakistan but across the world, that America means business, Trump means business, and I think it's already a big victory for India. Okay, so big victory for India. Raj, I also want to understand from you, is this also indicative of the fact that the US understands the war, the Pakistan-sponsored war India is fighting in Kashmir, and the US stands with India in that war on terror? Let's look just a little back. There was some loose statements that came out in the past which concerned India. The fact that Nikki Haley, the US ambassador to the United Nations, had talked of possibly US being a negotiator in improving bilateral relations with India and Pakistan. And we thought this was, they'd crossed the limit. We were pushing hard. And one of the pillars of this meeting, of the three pillars that we can talk about, was terror, because the other two being defense and trade. Now, if we have got a significant statement on what is it that we wanted, counter-terrorism, we wanted Pakistan to be named, and they've done it indirectly. One of the major groups that's there. So I don't know what the final statement would be. What is obviously, President Trump is quite transactional. What is the give we are giving for that take? We need to see whether it will express itself on the terror front, or would it be on defense or other areas where India would make the concessions. But certainly what we are seeing is a very bold decision by President Trump to go ahead and do it, timing it significantly.
Timing.
That is the critical thing. He could have done it earlier,
yes.
He could have done it after, but he says, look, I mean business, and he's asked Prime Minister Modi, do you?
Okay. Okay, so that's a strong indication, and as Raj Chingappa says, and he's a man who understands global strategy, counter-terrorism extremely well, and he says it's a huge step, and it's a step in India's favor. Pakistan very clearly shamed internationally, even if Pakistan hasn't been named. But just listen in to Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Now, Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in the United States at the United Nations General Assembly had hailed a Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist Burhan Wani as a martyr, as a freedom fighter, and this is a slap on the face of that kind of thinking. Let's listen in to Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif.
Our predictions have now been confirmed by events. A new generation of Kashmiris has risen spontaneously against India's illegal occupation, demanding freedom from occupation. Burhan Wani, the young leader murdered by Indian forces, has emerged as a symbol of the latest Kashmiri Intifada, a popular and peaceful freedom movement led by Kashmiris, young and old, men and women, armed only with an undying faith in the legitimacy of their cause and a hunger for freedom in their hearts.
Such hollow speak from Pakistan's Prime Minister, armed with weapons provided by Pakistan, armed with training given in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and with terrorists like Syed Salahuddin living in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But is this, in a way, Raj, just symbolic? Because Hafiz Mohammed Saeed is a designated global terrorist. Clearly, he operates in Pakistan despite being a designated global terrorist.
Well, I think, you see, that was the previous administration. Trump is a different cup of tea, I would think. And what we've been always wanting, because we felt that Trump's gun sights were always on the ISIS and to some extent the Middle East. That gun sight is now widened and shifted towards Pakistan as well. And that's a very important development, because US does require Pakistan while dealing with Afghanistan, for them to go out and stick their neck out and say, all right, we think you can't go beyond this. And let's also look at the timing. One is the meeting that is just soon going to happen between the two leaders, and two, Kashmir is in a bit of a trouble right now. Yes. Bit is an understatement. It's informant. We've been seeing,
for a year now.
For a year.
8 July was when the terrorist was killed.
Who was instigating? These were the leaders. And Burhan Wani, you had the other person also who was killed subsequently to that. So here was a critical moment for India also, that the pressure on Pakistan is beginning to build. We thought that the new administration had so far not been demonstrating that openly. This is the first sign that President Trump has recognized the problem. He is saying, I'm going to act, and he's unpredictable. So I don't think Pakistan could take it easy. If you recall, when President Trump came to power, they did start taking action against Hafiz Saeed.
Yes.
They were so worried that part of the problem, and he still holds the immigration bit there.
And the Supreme Court has upheld Trump's six-nation ban today.
Now,
partially.
supposing he begins, if he feels that Pakistan is getting out of hand, he can start saying, I'm going to put certain restrictions for
Pakistani passport holders.
That's right. I mean, he need not prevent them from coming, but he could tighten the screws. So anything that he does on the terror front, he can do quite a lot. And he, as you've seen, he's the disruptor in chief. He's broken agreements. He's torn the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement.
Absolutely.
He's decided that climate change isn't going to be there. If he decides that he's convinced, and let's not also forget, in a week's time, Prime Minister Modi goes to Israel.
Yes.
And this is again a significant partnership that the US supports. And therefore, I think you're seeing a virtuous constellation of factors building. And I think this is very good that this has happened.
And he also trusts his generals more than his diplomats. He trusts his generals. And both his generals, whether it's General Nicholson, the commander of Resolute Force in Afghanistan, or James Mattis, who's reviewing Afghanistan deployment, they are very, very clear about where the source of terror, even in Afghanistan, is.
And we have to see how this plays out. I mean, you know, it is good that this has happened. We have to see the joint statement and how strongly that is there so we can make a better assessment of it. But the fact that it has been announced in advance,
yes.
And of course, India Today TV seems to have the inside track on it that it's going to be on the statement.
Yes.
We look forward to that as well. But clearly, we are going to see, you know, this is more than just the relationship with Pakistan.
This is more than just optics, is what you're saying.
And no, I'd also say, when Prime Minister Modi went to meet President Trump, right? President Trump had met a whole lot of other leaders, and there was concern that India was just one number in the queue. Right. I think what this demonstrates, firstly, him giving dinner, spending so much time, is that the kind of rapport that Prime Minister Modi built with President Barack Obama, the previous president, I think we are seeing that chemistry is going to happen when they two meet. I'm just sticking my neck out.
Okay.
Journalists don't do that. But I think you're seeing a very positive trend in Indo-US relations happening, and this is the first big signal that that is there.
Okay, so that's a positive signal. Now, we've been talking about India-US relations. Raj, just a moment ago, was talking about what it was like under Barack Obama. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has invested a lot there, investing a lot even now, though hedging the bets, getting closer even to other European leaders. India-US ties flourished under the previous American presidents too. Modi especially had a good rapport with Barack Obama. But Trump era brings out a new set of challenges. Let's take a look at the highs under Barack Obama and the challenges under Donald Trump.
मेरी और बराक के बीच में वो दोस्ती बन गई है। उस खुलेपन के कारण हम आराम से फोन पे बात कर लेते हैं, हम आराम से गप मार लेते हैं, हंसी मजाक कर लेते हैं।
Modi and Obama, a dynamic friendship that transcended the conventions of diplomacy. A partnership that often broke protocol. From embracing each other to making departures from schedules, the world leaders would make no secret of their mutual admiration.
Señorita, bude desho me. You know what I mean. So,
the Washington-New Delhi relationship, helmed by the two friends, soared to new heights. But come November 2016, a new face took charge at the White House.
Everyone knows what that means, right?
And Donald Trump couldn't be more different from his predecessor. If Obama was about inclusivity, Trump is about building walls. If Obama's policies were about making the world a global village, Trump's are clearly America first. If Obama was a statesman, Trump is mercurial and unpredictable. And New Delhi is wary of a flighty POTUS. For this reason, no joint address is planned between Modi and Trump. In Trump's 6 months as president, several thorny issues have crept up. These include a clampdown on H-1B visas, an aggressive anti-immigration policy, and the withdrawal of the US from the Paris Climate Change Accord.
In order to fulfill my solemn duty to protect America and its citizens, the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. India makes its participation contingent on receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid from developed countries. There are many other examples, but the bottom line is that the Paris Accord is very unfair at the highest level to the United States.
Climate change itself एक बहुत बड़ा प्रेशर है. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग इटसेल्फ एक बहुत बड़ा प्रेशर है. इस क्लाइमेट के संबंध में कॉन्शियस बने, उन रीति नीतियों को अपनाएं ताकि हम भावी पीढ़ी को एक अच्छी जिंदगी दे सके, अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट दे सके. और मैं मानता हूं ये प्रेशर हर देश पे होना चाहिए, हर सरकार पर होना चाहिए, हर व्यक्ति पर होना चाहिए. और उसी प्रेशर को हम समझ पाते हैं और उसी को हम रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं.
Though the Indian side wanted to keep the talks low-key and chose to describe the meeting as an occasion to know each other, Trump's tweet calling Modi a true friend has lifted spirits. The question that remains is, will Modi and Trump be able to recreate the bonhomie the Indian PM had with Obama? With Geeta Mohan and Mosmi Singh in Washington, D.C., Bureau Report, India Today.
What will be concrete takeaways for India from this meeting in the times to come? So, if we were to do a little crystal ball gazing, now, like you said, Donald Trump is a businessman. If he's giving something, he'll take something. So, what's that take?
You know, it's difficult, of course, and we may have to eat our words because in about 4 or 5 hours, we know exactly what the take is. But if you look at it, there are 3 broad areas that these talks are focusing on. And terror is one of them, and we've seen some outcome of that. We'd like to see whether there any concession India is going to be making on this front. And if so, what is that concession? The second big area, I think, is defense. And I think that's where we're going to see some movement on. The third is trade. So if you take defense, for instance, there has been recently an announcement that India is going to buy the Guardians, right, for $2 billion. Now, America has been eyeing the 120 aircraft that Air Force require for their multi-combat role fighter. And that is...
So does that mean that while we get the drones, that would make China uncomfortable? Because the range of these Guardian drones, of course, they're giving us the
peaceful ones.
The peaceful ones, not the missile
predators,
ones,
not the
predators.
Yes.
So these Guardians, they have a huge range. They can stay up in the sky for 14 hours, relay images live, and in the Indian Ocean region, give us a lot of
certainly
eyes.
No, I think what you've seen, and this is partly what we saw the playback that of there President Obama, is that India has been recognized as a major defense partner. This is one of the first big signs that America is willing to give us high technology that it had never given us before. Non-NATO countries. Now we are seeing that happening. So what we could see apart from this is other kind of technology that we might require. Not necessarily in defense, but in other areas we require high tech. We also require a lot of investment. We only get 10% of the total investment, that foreign outgoing investment that US makes. So I think we'll make a strong pitch. One, they would want us to look at Lockheed and see, of course, Lockheed is a very tricky deal because...
The F-16's Block 70 to be manufactured in India.
Correct, but then it may not be manufactured because...
assembled in India.
Correct, because you will have to... Trump will say, I believe in America first. You're taking my entire factory and putting it there. How does it help me?
Correct.
So I think there'll be an interim arrangement if that is going to go through. And that's why Tata Lockheed makes the announcement. That's a significant announcement just before a big meeting between the two, is that they'd say integration and then keep all the various parts that they're making of the F-16s here. But it's still our, you know, whether we want to buy that or not is still our decision, because you still have Gripens in competition for this particular thing. The Rafales we've bought, but we're looking at, that's right, we're looking at another 120, and we still have to decide on that front. There are a lot of choppers to be bought.
Yes.
Helicopters, multi-role helicopters, gunships, transport, and it is estimated there's something like 1,000 helicopters that you know, the forces would require, Army, Navy. So I mean, they've already sold us the Apaches. You've seen the Chinooks come in. These were frontline helicopters that earlier they wouldn't give us. So there is another part that you could be looking at, which they could eye at. They've given us the Poseidon, of course, for the naval.
PADIs.
That's right, which is there. So, and of course the heavy lifters, that's there. So India-American defense relationship has been one of the big stories after the US nuclear deal. We've had $15 billion being traded. And you know, America actually emerged in 2013 as India's largest defense supplier, outstaging Russia for that particular year. So what you're seeing is a very significant development. Now, what we want on trade, given the fact that climate change has gone sour, we were expecting clean technology from America, solar technology that was there, and of course natural gas. Now we still need to know what is America's decision on these two fronts. Are they going to supply us, and what would be that kind of deal? That's something we're looking for. On textiles, we're looking for that. They are saying lower your tariffs. We need to see where those concessions are being made, particularly if you look at multi-brand retails. American business has been saying for a long time, about time you opened up that sector.
Because we're such a huge market.
That's right. So what are the areas, and don't forget, Prime Minister Modi has established his economic credentials on 2 or 3 big issues. The biggest one, of course, and big two, has been demonetization and GST. And by that he's demonstrating that he's cleaning up the economy. He has also opened out critical sectors of the economy progressively. Of course, they're looking for greater concessions, greater control, greater, and there's pressure building on that front. But clearly, he is back on the reforms path. He's not just saying I'm pro-poor and pro-farmer. He's also saying I'm pro-business in some senses. So I think this trip will demonstrate some of that, whether he's speaking on that front as well. 5
hours of hard-nosed bargaining as the two get to know each other. Who emerges victorious, or will it be a win-win for India and America? All that and much more on the other side of a quick break. And our coverage continues through the night. Stay with us here on India Today. Syed Salahuddin, the Pakistan-based terrorist organization Hizbul Mujahideen chief, has been designated a global terrorist by the United States of America. That's the man you see on your television screen. The founder of the Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist organization has just been declared a global terrorist by the US State Department. He's based in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. He's the commander of the terrorist organization that had terrorists like Burhan Wani in Jammu and Kashmir, also Sabzar Ahmad Bhatt and a large number of others. Just today, this terrorist based in Pakistan had announced a calendar of protests to mark 1 year of terrorist Burhan Wani being killed, and it's a huge blow to the terror infrastructure based in Pakistan, because now Pakistan will be compelled, at least that is what the entire civilized world expects of Pakistan, to take action against terrorists on its soil. Let's listen in to the spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs, Gopal Bagle.
It does vindicate India's longest-standing position that cross-border terrorism has been behind the disturbances created in Kashmir, and since last year, as you know. And in fact, the outfits that Syed Salahuddin leads, they have perpetuated from the territory of Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir cross-border terrorism against India, including in the state of Jammu and Kashmir for a number of years. So in that sense, I think we would welcome this notification, and it underlines also quite strongly the fact that both India and United States face threat of terrorism.
Will Pakistan crack down on Syed Salahuddin remains to be seen, but the message from the United States is very clear. Is this also indicative of the fact that the US supports India's stance on Pakistan-sponsored terror in Jammu and Kashmir? All that and much more through the night. This coverage continues on India Today. A quick break. We'll be back with the headlines and our top stories. Stay with us.